The U.S. government is already using ChatGPT to audit Medicaid records. Illinois just signed the first U.S. law requiring independent AI safety audits. And in 12 days, the EU starts enforcing its own AI transparency rules. None of this is theoretical anymore. But here's what almost nobody is saying clearly enough: some of these stories are brand new. Some of them are older than they sound. Getting the timeline right is the whole point of an audit. So let's actually get it right. Start with the one deadline that's real and close. August 2nd, 2026. 12 days from today. That's when Article 50 of the EU AI Act takes full effect. Every general-purpose AI model provider must have technical documentation, training data summaries, copyright compliance policies, and systemic risk assessments, for any model trained above 10 to the 25th power in compute. Miss it, and the European Commission can fine you up to €15 million, or 3% of global revenue. Whichever is larger. This part didn't get delayed. Earlier this year, the EU pushed back some of its high-risk AI obligations by 12 to 16 months. The Digital Omnibus Amendments, if you want the exact name. But the general-purpose AI transparency rules, the ones landing August 2nd, were left completely untouched. Which tells you something. Even regulators willing to slow down on some AI rules decided this particular deadline couldn't wait. 12 days. 12 days. One deadline. No extension. On July 6, Governor Pritzker signed Senate Bill 315. Illinois is the first U.S. state to require independent, third-party safety audits of frontier AI systems. Every year. Not internal review. An outside auditor. It covers companies over $500 million in revenue, training models above that same massive compute threshold, so this means OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, Meta, and xAI, specifically. They'll have to publish something called a Frontier AI Framework, their own plan for catastrophic risks, updated every year, in public. The law also protects whistleblowers. Employees inside these companies can report safety concerns without losing their jobs over it. And it has actual civil penalties for companies that ignore it, not just a strongly worded letter. Here's the correction worth making, though. This law does not take effect until January 1, 2027. It was signed this month. It doesn't start for another year and a half. That's still historic. It's just not a compliance deadline yet. Reporting it as, already in force, would be exactly the kind of sloppy accuracy this whole topic is supposed to fix. Back in May, the Department of Health and Human Services quietly launched something called AERO. Audit Enforcement and Risk Oversight. It uses ChatGPT and other AI models to scan 5 years of Medicaid compliance history, across all 50 states. Chronic non-compliance. Repeat problems. Missed audit obligations. And it has real teeth. Any hospital, university, or nonprofit spending more than $1 million a year in federal funds can have that funding frozen, based on what this AI system flags. Here's the part that should concern you more than the $900 billion headline number. HHS has not published the tool's error rate. Has not disclosed its exact methodology. Has not set a public appeals deadline. The government is willing to freeze funding for hospitals and universities based on an AI system whose accuracy nobody outside the government has independently verified. That's not a someday AI governance problem. That's happening to real institutions, right now, this summer. There's a deadline buried in this too. By September 22, federal agencies deploying what's classified as high-impact AI have to report their own risk management practices to the White House Budget Office. Pre-deployment testing. Ongoing monitoring. A working human review process. In other words, the government is being asked to audit its own AI audit tool, on a deadline that hasn't arrived yet either. This week, security researchers found that Grok Build, xAI's coding tool, was uploading developers' entire code repositories to cloud storage. Full commit history. Passwords and API keys that were sitting inside the code. One researcher measured it precisely. The tool was sending roughly 27,800 times more data than the actual coding task ever required. The privacy toggle did nothing. Turning it off didn't stop the uploads. XAI quietly shut off the upload server on July 13. No public security advisory. Elon Musk promised the data would be deleted. If this sounds familiar, it should. Back in March of last year, a contractor working for the New South Wales government in Australia uploaded a spreadsheet with the personal and health information of 3,000 flood victims, directly into ChatGPT. Different company. Different continent. Same failure. A tool nobody audited, handling data nobody was watching. And Deloitte Australia has its own version. A government report, from last year, with academic citations that simply did not exist, and a quote fabricated and wrongly attributed to a real judge. Deloitte refunded part of the fee. None of these are new problems. What's new is how fast they're repeating. So who should be doing all this checking? Google has an answer. On July 5, they proposed something called FARO, the Frontier AI Regulatory Organization. Industry funded. Federally overseen. Modeled on FINRA, the body that already polices Wall Street. Its board would include independent technical experts, and representatives from the open source community, not just the big labs grading themselves. The plan: Frontier labs submit new models for review up to 30 days before public release. At first, participation would be voluntary. Later, compliance would become a requirement to operate in the US at all. 9 days later, Demis Hassabis, Google DeepMind's own CEO, went further, calling for a US-led global AI watchdog, possibly running before the end of this year. Here's why that tension matters. This same month, the Future of Life Institute graded 9 major AI labs on safety. Not one of them scored above a C+. Anthropic got the best grade, at C+. OpenAI and Google DeepMind both got a C. 3 labs failed outright. If the industry that built those grades is also the industry proposing to write its own rulebook, that's not automatically wrong. But it's exactly the question Illinois already answered by choosing an external auditor instead. Here's the honest summary. One deadline is real and imminent, the EU, in 12 days. One law is real but not active yet, Illinois, starting January 2027. One government program is real and already affecting real institutions, HHS auditing Medicaid records, without publishing its own error rate. And one pattern keeps repeating, company after company, year after year, unaudited AI handling data or producing work nobody checked closely enough. The debate over who audits the auditors is not settled. But pretending everything is breaking news this week helps nobody actually track it. Subscribe for AI news that gets the dates right. Comment below, should AI auditing be run by industry, like Google proposes, or by independent outsiders, like Illinois requires? Tell me which one you trust more.